I'm ending my marriage, after I found out my wife of 20 years cheated on me while we were dating. My wife, 44 female, and I, 43 male, have been married for 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for her first 2 years of college while I was in high school and did 1 year at community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year, and have lived together ever since. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I initiated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff and my wife mentioned that we met in high school, not that we dated, just that we met. Her old college roommate commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, then ended up together. I played along and commented that I didn't know if my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I sensed something was up, so I said that we actually started dating in high school and were together for my wife's entire time at college. All of my wife's friends got real quiet and the rest of the dinner was pretty awkward. On the way out, one of her other roommates took me aside and said I should have an honest conversation about what happened at college. I asked my wife about it on the way home and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me and again she said it wasn't important. When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years at college. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time because we were long distance and she didn't think a high school romance would last. I pressed for more details and she said it was at least 10 different men, including at least 3 guys she introduced to me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and 1 guy she was still in contact with. I told her that I wanted a divorce and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January 2nd. Her family and most of my family is telling me I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. I've stood by my belief that cheating on me with multiple men for years is unacceptable no matter when it happened, and the fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys right in front of me was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children, but they are 17 and 19 and I believe they will understand why I need to end the marriage. Am I wrong for leaving her? I feel like I'm going crazy with the amount of people telling me to overlook years of infidelity and decades of lies. Edit. I wanted to provide some detail for common questions. 1. The reason I posted this is that my wife and a few friends have been saying it's common to sleep with other folks when you're in a long-distance relationship and that I'm kind of the odd one out for not sleeping around. I felt like I was being gaslit, but I wanted an outside perspective. We live in a state with a waiting period to finalize a divorce, so I felt it was a reasonable idea to get some insight before things are finalized. After these comments, I see a handful of folks saying it's normal to sleep around during a long-distance relationship, but it seems to be a significant minority. 2. We saw each other a couple of weekends a month during the 2-year college period. I lived about 3 hours away from her college, so it was long distance but not like cross-country. This was not a situation where we went months without seeing each other. 3. The 3 guys I met while she was in college were meetups that happened during parties. The subject of me being a boyfriend didn't really come up, so I honestly don't know if these guys knew anything. 4. The 1 guy we're still in contact with married a mutual friend from college. This is not some guy she secretly messages on the side, it's somebody we've talked to regularly for years. I've talked to him a few times since I've learned about my wife. He said he didn't know we were dating at the time and has since blocked my wife on social media. 5. Some folks have asked how the roommates didn't realize at our wedding that the timelines didn't work out. The main reason is that my wife and I had a very small ceremony with just close family in Texas, then went back to the East Coast to have a big party with friends. The typical reception and sharing details about how we met stuff didn't really happen, so her roommates didn't realize we started dating before college. It sounds like they thought we only dated for the year we were both in the same city, then moved in together. 6. I was open to therapy or some kind of attempt to save the marriage, but her insistence that this whole thing is common and I'm the one who's out of line is just too much for me. The only time she showed any remorse or even offered to reconcile is when I started filing paperwork. In the last week she's gone back to saying she's right and I'm overreacting. This is also why I feel like I'm being gaslit. It seems obvious that this is a major issue, but I've got my wife and others telling me it's normal and I'm overreacting. 7. I'm not getting a paternity test unless my kids want to get one. I don't have any doubts that they are biologically mine, and no test will make them not my kids. I love them more than anything in the world and my wife's infidelity won't change that even if one or both of them is not biologically mine. They've been my kids for 19 years and they will be my kids until I stop breathing. Update. First, let's talk about the things I learned about the situation in college. After talking to my wife in sessions and texting with 2 of her roommates, it's clear that her roommates knew something was up in college. They said they thought the situation was weird and likely involved cheating. My wife had told them that we both had some wild times in college and worked it out before we got married, so they never really brought it up. The roommate who pulled me aside recently was uncomfortable with the fact that my wife clearly didn't talk it through with me, and wanted me to know. As far as being introduced to guys she slept with, apparently that was not intended. For one of the guys, he ended up dating and then marrying one of our mutual friends from college. This is the guy she was in contact with. In the other situations, she initially blamed me in the counseling session, but has now agreed it was bad. When I went to visit her, she planned to hang out in the room or just hang out together alone, but I wanted to go to a few parties because in high school and community college, I didn't really have parties to go to. She didn't expect me to meet the guys, but they were at the parties and she felt she didn't really have a choice. I still think this is kind of shitty, but it's not as bad as her intentionally parading me in front of the guys. Most of our discussion in therapy has been talking about why I think it's a big deal and she doesn't. She initially said that none of these guys were in relationships with her and it was mostly one-night stands or friends with benefits. Since she didn't view them as romantic relationships, she didn't see the big deal, her words not mine. My opinion is that we never said that was okay and she actively prevented me from doing the same. After digging into this across 2 sessions, and my wife talking to some friends, she now agrees that it was a breach of our trust and relationship. This is the shared understanding that has helped us talk about this situation more honestly and helped us get from arguing to talking, which is why I'm optimistic about co-parenting. Now, here's why I'm 100% set on divorce. 2 things came up that make me want to leave the marriage. First, about 10 years ago we went through a really rough patch and had a dead bedroom for about 2 years. She had expressed that our intimate life was becoming boring, so I tried to spice things up, nothing crazy, just character play and toys. Apparently, she had been hung up on some intimate experiences that happened in college, that she is not comfortable talking about, and wanted me to try them, but when I did, it made her feel awkward and guilty that it made her think of other men while she was with me. The fact that she's saying these experiences were meaningless, but they're still impacting our marriage tells me they meant more than she wants to say. Second, she admitted that she has been flirting with coworkers on business trips since the pandemic ended. She says she has never slept with anybody, but it got as far as going on a date with one of her male coworkers. That was the absolute deal breaker for me. We have told our children that we're getting a divorce. We told them it was due to some bad decisions that we made in college that we're having trouble moving past. My 19-year-old, who is in college, asked me if I cheated on my wife while she was away at college. My wife got a little shaken up, but admitted to the kids that she's the one who cheated. We have agreed to not share any additional details with the kids. I reinforced that both us will be there for the kids and that we are in therapy to help make sure we handle this in the best way for the family. I also told the kids that if they wanted to talk to either of us or a therapist about it, that I would fully support it. We've started talking to a mediator about how to proceed with the divorce, and unless things change, we should be able to have an amicable divorce. We're both financially stable on our own, we have no major debts, and our kids are older, so custody isn't a major issue. This has been a crappy couple of months for me, but I'm doing okay now and I honestly am grateful that my last post blew up because it both validated some of my feelings, but also motivated me to go to counseling with my wife. That's all for now, thank you all.
My best friend told me an unbelievable story about her husband, and knew I wouldn't believe it. I don't like who I am because of it. So my best friend, 34 female, has been married for 3 years. I thought happily. She told me it was happy. He was always really quiet. Even though he was a good bit older, he seemed really nice and loving, 45 male. Their only big problem that she ever talked about was disagreeing about having kids or not. It was a problem she had mentioned before, how she had been super adamant that she hadn't wanted any from day one. And while that made him sad, he said she was worth giving that up for since he had nieces and nephews. But the problem never really went away. She would still talk about it here and there, very casually, like oh he's trying to bring up the kid thing again, I don't know why he does that, or oh he said that he thinks he can change my mind, but when I told him he couldn't he backed off. I didn't like that information, but it wasn't super concerning. She didn't make it sound super concerning. Also adding, we see each other at least twice a week, usually at my house or out to eat since her husband works from home. We text all the time and call, we are very in each other's lives. So we go from this very normal life to her suddenly at my door at 3 in the morning crying her eyes out. She was inconsolable, she couldn't talk at all. The only thing she could manage is to scream no at me when I went to call her husband. I thought she had been mugged or hurt on the street or something. I didn't know, long story short. That night my boyfriend ended up carrying her to the guest room, the girl wasn't freaking moving, and I slept with her and held her all night. The next day she still freaked the heck out and we realized her car wasn't here. So that meant she freaking walked 4 miles in 30-degree weather to get to our house. But she can talk, and she tells me the most wild story I've ever heard. Her husband came home drunk, or she thought he was drunk, and started a fight over the kids thing again. He started to throw things and just scream at her about how he was ruining his life and legacy. Then he went into their room and said he was going to make things even. He started breaking her stuff, like her jewelry box and tearing her clothes in the closet. And when she tried to stop him he pushed her hard enough to knock her to the floor. Then he declared that he shouldn't have to make things even and that she should just be a good wife. Then he did what you think he did while she was on the floor. He left her crying and she said then he took her keys and phone and locked himself in the bathroom, screaming about how he would hurt himself if she ever left him. That didn't stop her. She still went to leave. They have this really heavy front door that you can hear pretty easily, so he must have heard her leave while he was in the bathroom. She said he freaking chased her down the street, half-dressed. He caught her once and hit her a few times but she got away and he stopped following. She made it to my house and she broke down. End of story. This was a very 0 to 100 moment. And I had known them as such a happy and loving couple I didn't believe it. That was the gut instinct. It wasn't even coupled with oh she's a liar but it was this automatic knee-jerk that this couldn't be true. He wouldn't do that. I hadn't even said anything when she was done but she could read it on my face. Or maybe she was just extra emotional, I don't know. But she started crying again, very, very hard, and kept saying, "He said this would happen, he said this would happen." It took a while before she calmed down again, and I told her over and over that I did believe her. I was just shocked. And she said he told her that no one would believe her. That he had been telling her that for years. Because he had been doing this crap for years, and she had been protecting him for years because she thought he had a problem. And I again didn't believe her. Gut reaction. I just hit it better this time, and at least managed to make her feel safe. Then she showed me the bruises. They were all on her thighs and stomach, places that you can't see. She told me that he did stuff like this at least 3 times a week, that he always used the excuse of alcohol issues for it, but according to her, she couldn't even smell it on him anymore. That night was the final straw. That's when that stupid gut reaction disappeared, and I knew it was all true. But why did it take her showing me that to believe her? I have known her for nearly 10 years. She was there for me during my own divorce, and she has always been such a beautiful and lovely person, who also isn't vindictive. I knew all of this. But my instinct was to stand up for a man who I don't know nearly as well. Just because he was always nice to me? It has left a very bad taste in my mouth. As of now, we are getting the ball rolling on things. Working to get a restraining order. She is staying with us, and my wonderful, brave boyfriend went to their house to get her stuff that was still intact. There wasn't that much left, but at least she has her phone and car. The soon-to-be ex is trying non-stop to get in contact with her, but I'd rather unalive him than let him go near her. I've had to call the cops for him showing up here freaking twice in the last 2 weeks. Her job has let her work from home because he tried to see her there, and you would think that would be more than enough for an order, but that's a whole other thing. My friend is a trooper. After her first few meltdowns, she is dealing with this crap almost too well. I feel like she's entitled to more meltdowns. But she's too strong for that. It's a lot to talk about, a lot of things she needs to heal, and we are gonna be there for it. I feel too many things right now. The only person I've talked to about this is my boyfriend, since he's aware of the situation. I know I'm doing everything right, according to what she needs and wants. I'm being a good friend. I know it's true when he says that. But if I was such a good friend, why didn't I instantly believe her? I get that it's small, I get that I recovered from like the 5-minute disbelief very fast. But that was still 5 minutes where she was truly alone, where he was right and no one would believe her. It makes me sick. I'm not trying to make her horrible situation about me, but why did I have that reaction first? In that moment she was crying because she knew I didn't trust her. I did that. Why did it take my best friend showing me evidence to believe it? What the heck is wrong with me? Why didn't I notice first? How could I let her go through this? I don't know. But I keep thinking about it. Has something like this happened to anyone before? Is it just me? I also want to add, while I didn't show her this post, I did ask if I could get some thoughts out about this on Reddit. Which is weird, but she knows that I do vents and stuff on here with random accounts. Plus she's in a place where she isn't hiding anything anymore. I'm so proud of her. She wants the world, our world, not literally Lowell, to know what he did and who he is. So I just wanted to put that out there. I don't want her to see it per se, but she knew anyway. She knew from my face, and she's just too good of a person to be mad. And now I am rambling. Long story short, this anonymous story isn't trying to ruin my best friend's privacy.
I broke up with my girlfriend of 3 years because she chose to abstain from lovemaking. Now she wants to get back together, but told me she had been intimate with someone else when we were broken up. I, 23 male, met my ex, 21 female, 3 years ago. We lived on campus at uni in different halls of residence. After a few months, we got together and for the most part had a very happy relationship. There was always one issue though. My ex grew up in a very religious home. Her father is a pastor. She has been open with her family that she does not share their faith. They weren't happy about it but accepted that she has to make her own choices on that. Nevertheless, I think some of that religious upbringing was still in her mind. I grew up in a different religion but was never very serious about it, and am no longer religious. Our relationship was pretty normal except that she told me very early that she had never made love before and wanted to stay that way until she was married. It wasn't for religious reasons, as I mentioned she isn't religious. But she was very focused on not disappointing her dad. We did other intimate things, we just never went all the way. I never had much luck with girls growing up, and going into the relationship I had my V card. And I still do, at least if you classify it as never having gone all the way. Anyway, I was becoming more resentful of the fact that everyone I know was having normal intimate relationships and we weren't. I couldn't understand why she didn't want to have a full intimate relationship, though of course I never pressured her about it. I felt that while I was at uni, and pretty broke, getting married was something for the future. Last year, I was in my last year of uni and she was working in her first professional job. Her degree was shorter than mine, so she finished uni first despite being younger than me. She was talking a lot about all these successful guys she met at work, which did make me feel lesser as I was still a broke uni student. Coupled with her still not wanting a full intimate relationship, it did make me feel more resentful. We had some arguments about it and after a while I felt that I should end the relationship as we wanted different things and our lives were on different paths. It was awful. She was crying a lot and I felt terrible afterwards. Anyway, it has been nearly 6 months since we broke up. We haven't been in touch at all for most of that time. I have not been involved with anyone else in that time, as I was 100% focused on finishing my degree. I have finally finished uni and am about to start my first professional job. She recently got in touch again and asked to meet up. I was hesitant, but decided we had so much good history that I should hear her out. She told me she's been missing me terribly these past 6 months. that she thinks she wants to get back together, and is open to having an intimate relationship now. I asked her why now? What changed? And she looked uncomfortable. After a little prying, she said she had a short-term fling with one of the older guys at work while we were broken up. Which of course was fine as she wasn't my girlfriend anymore. Anyway, she said he persisted with her until she started making love with him. She ended it with him recently. She was clear that it was consensual, but that the guy was very persistent with pursuing lovemaking with her. I was gutted. I couldn't understand why she'd make me wait all those years, but was fine doing it with some new guy she'd only been seeing for a short period of time. I asked if the reason she was open to having an intimate relationship now is because she didn't have her card anymore. She said yes. I asked her to give me some space to process all this. I'm conflicted and would love some advice on this. I have missed her a lot and still have strong feelings for her, but at the same time it feels like I was strung along for years. It's hard to put my finger on why I don't want to take her back. Everything logically makes sense for us to get back together. I'd even get to finally have an intimate relationship with her. But I feel awful about this whole thing and don't want to ignore those feelings. Edit to add, some of the comments are being very harsh on my ex. And I guess that's not surprising. You don't know her. She's not some evil manipulative villain. At all. I would never have been with anyone like that. She's still the funny, smart, charming, beautiful girl I always knew. Any guy would be lucky to have her. I would be too, if I could handle the baggage here, but I'm thinking I probably can't and a clean break is the way to go. Though she may regret the relationship with the other man, it's not my business as she was a single woman and we were broken up. I wasn't ever expecting to hear from her again really. This whole situation is very surprising to me. I'm feeling hurt because I guess this is a solid blow to my ego. That I feel like the lesser man here. I can own that and that's something for me to work on. Ultimately I have some hang-ups about love making from this relationship that I need to deal with. A few people have suggested I could benefit from therapy. I'm going to look into that. I think I need help to process all these emotions from this situation. Update, I broke up with my girlfriend of 3 years because she chose to abstain from lovemaking. Now she wants to get back together but told me she had been intimate with someone else when we were broken up. I'm going to refer to my ex as Ellie. A few things have happened. Last weekend was the Australia Day long weekend. I was on a camping trip, in the Grampians for any Aussies reading. It was so nice to be in nature, to do some bushwalks with friends and decompress. It felt good to talk about the Ellie situation with my mates around the campfire. Most of them knew Ellie pretty well from our years together and they had a range of views, just like the commenters on my post. And I got the usual good-natured stuff about still having my V card. I learned there's an expensive bottle of scotch they bought a while ago that's going to have its seal cracked when mine is. Bastards lol. One great question a friend asked was whether I would have ever decided to reach out and take Ellie back if she never reached out to me first. The answer is no. It was so obvious to me. That cut through a lot of the confusion for me. I was being too passive in this situation, and needed to do what I wanted. Not just react to what Ellie wanted. By the time I was on the way home, I had decided to not get back together with her. But that was moot. When I was driving home and got a mobile signal again, no mobile network where we had camped, the network delivered a bunch of messages from Ellie all at once. She said she was wrong to ask me to get back together, and that she's back with Tim now. She also texted that the thing with Tim is more serious than she told me when she last met with me. She apologized for misleading me about her and Tim's relationship. If you remember, she called it a fling before. She asked if we could meet to talk about it. I was not happy so I just texted back no. Not very mature of me but I wasn't in the mood to hear more about all this. And I was surprised and pissed off that she lied to me. That seemed very out of character for her. She tried calling me but I didn't want to answer. She sent another text saying Tim and I had a fight. I shouldn't have come to you. And finally I'm sorry. When I got home, I was an idiot and let my curiosity get the better of me. I looked up Tim online. His real given name is uncommon so it wasn't hard to find. Found him on LinkedIn which gave me his full name. Ellie is one of his connections and he works at the same firm so I was confident it's him. He's a director at their firm, one level below partner. He also has pics on Insta. Lots of posts about his adventures around the world at various events and exotic places, as well as shots with an expensive looking car. A few photos of him with Ellie with their arms around each other in Singapore in November. I guess that confirms it was serious. He wouldn't have public pics with her for a casual fling. All that just made me feel bad. No good comes from comparing myself to my ex's successful boyfriend. Ellie is not my girlfriend and I'm not in competition with Tim. So I won't do that again. My ego's bruised enough already. I have been living a very frugal life my whole time at uni, aka poor as heck, so I know I can feel inferior when I see people with wealth. That's another me problem to sort out. Anyway, all that was on Sunday afternoon and evening. On Tuesday evening, Ellie knocked at my door. She said that she knows I didn't want to talk to her, but she felt bad about everything and hoped I would to let her explain herself, clear the air, then I'd never see her again if that's what I wanted. I let her in. I was not happy with recent events but figured I might at least get a clearer idea of what's going on. It was a long, heavy conversation over 4 hours but here's the gist as I remember it. When we broke up she was devastated. She said it took a couple of months before she started to feel a bit better. She missed me constantly and wanted to see me the whole time, but when I ended it we agreed to keep apart and heal. In September, she met Tim at work. He manages a different team, she doesn't work for him. She said he was very charming and attractive and showed almost immediate interest in her. They got to know each other and he asked her out. She was worried it was a rebound but felt so much better getting his attention that she went along with it. After dating for a while she developed feelings for him and that later led to an intimate relationship. It wasn't a fling and she dated him for a while beforehand. I asked about whether he had pressured her into lovemaking. Last time said he was very persistent. She said she was trying to not upset me. She thought if she gave the impression she was reluctant to make love with Tim that I wouldn't think as badly of her. So it was a story to try and spare my feelings. I told her it just made me worried she had been assaulted. She looked shocked at that and said no way, she was actually the one who initiated their intimate relationship. I said although I don't like that she lied to me, I can understand why. I don't think she did anything wrong changing her mind about abstinence. Yes, I was hurt when she told me she was making love, but I have no right to judge her for anything. She's a single adult and it's her life. I don't think badly of her. She burst into tears and said something like I thought you must hate me now. I assured her that I didn't. She said she was sad it didn't work for us, but that she never would have dropped her V-card commitment if we had not broken up. After we broke up, she decided that it was a commitment she made to her dad when she was still a kid, and it was messing with the life she wants now. So by the time she and Tim got into their relationship, she had already decided she was ready for lovemaking with the right person. I asked about her dad and she just said, he doesn't need to know. I asked about why she asked to get back together. Tim is older, she told me he's 32, and has been at the firm 10 years. One day at work, one of the women made a snarky comment to Ellie about being another one of Tim's girls. She did some digging and it turns out Tim has a history. He has dated a long list of women from work, several of them were young graduate employees just like Ellie. The rumor around the office is that Ellie is just the next girl to get used by him. She was horrified. She accused him of using her. They argued and she told him it was over. Soon after that she came to me. She felt as if we might be able to rekindle things now that she was open to an intimate relationship. But my hesitation and time to calm down made her realize that was a mistake. Over the weekend, Tim asked her to work things out. She decided to give it a chance. She tried to call me but they went to voicemail. I was camping, so she sent those messages instead. So I guess that's settled. I don't want her back and she's in a relationship so she doesn't want me back either. We chatted a bit about how our families are going. She congratulated me on finally finishing uni. She asked if I had been seeing anyone and when I told her I'd been studying hard and working a lot since exams, retail job, with no time for girls, she laughed and said I'm still a big nerd. She hoped we could be friendly if we ever see each other. But she wants to keep out of contact out of respect for her relationship with Tim. She wants to give it a real chance of working. Which is fair enough. She gave me a hug, said thank you for understanding, and left. So there you have it. Ellie involved me in her relationship drama. I would have preferred she hadn't, but at least it's sorted now. I'm glad I paid attention to my feelings and took time out to consider things, as it could have been very messy if I had taken her back. Trusting my gut has been the biggest lesson for me in all this. I still care for her despite recent events. It seems like she is dealing with a lot of complicated things between her new relationship and work gossip. I wish her well and hope she will be happy, whether it's with Tim or not. She was my first love and I expect I'll always have warm memories of her. But I am clear now that I don't want her back. She is my past and I want to look forward. Well, this has become an essay. Tutors at uni always told me I was too waffly in my writing. Well, screw those guys. I'm not a student anymore. I can now focus on launching my new career with no distractions. I've worked so hard for so long to get here. My new job starts on Monday. It's going to be so great building actual real experience in my new profession, not just endless theory. I'll be earning much better money, no more student poverty, and I've got graduation in May to look forward to as well. I'm open to finding someone new, but that is way down on my priority list. I'm not going to actively pursue that anytime soon. Cheers everyone for your comments and advice.
My boyfriend is moving in with his female best friend, and their closeness is making me very uncomfortable. So my boyfriend and I have been together for just under a year. When we first started dating he told me about Faith, one of his best friends. They've known one another since childhood and are extremely close. I didn't have a problem with this initially because Faith had a boyfriend, and the way she acted towards my boyfriend she also acted towards another close male friend, so I thought it's just who she is. Just before Christmas, Faith and her boyfriend broke up. I never got the details, just that it was a really bad breakup. They were living together and Faith needed a place to stay so my boyfriend offered his couch. This is where I started getting uncomfortable. I told him I didn't like some girls staying at his place like this and he told me it's temporary and she's his best friend and I don't get a say in who he lends his couch out to. We argued and eventually I relented. On New Year's I wanted to go back to his place after the celebration at my friend's place, but he said Faith is there and we wouldn't be able to do anything, lovemaking, and I got annoyed and said she can listen to it for all I care. He got annoyed at that and said he's not doing that. I asked him when she plans on getting her own place and he said she's looking but it's hard to find something in her price range. I went home alone that night. A week ago, he wasn't feeling the greatest so I wanted to surprise him with food, so I showed up to his apartment and she answered the door in a tank top and very small pajama shorts. When she went to have a shower I asked him if she walks around like that all the time and he said yes and saw me get annoyed and told me not to start. I asked him how he'd feel if I had a close male friend living with me walking around half exposed and he said he'd be uncomfortable but he'd trust me not to do anything. I told him I do trust him but it's still a boundary for me and I asked again when she's moving out. That's when he dropped the bomb on me that the two of them have decided to look for a place together once his lease is up in March. I lost it. She heard us fighting and came out of the shower, dressed, somewhat, and asked what was wrong and I told her I'm not comfortable with any of this. She apologized and said I'd better find a way to be comfortable with it. He didn't say anything and when I said seriously? He sighed and told me she's right, that she's been his friend longer than I've been in his life, and this will benefit them both in the long run, so this is what's happening. I asked what's going to happen if we wanted to move in together before the lease to whatever place they're getting is up, and he said that's something we can discuss if and when that happens. I was so unbelievably mad and insulted that I just left. I texted him later and asked him to think about what's more important, living with her or our relationship, and he said that sounds like I'm giving him an ultimatum, and I said that's not what I'm doing, but he's being unreasonable. We've been texting since, but it feels like it's probably the end of our relationship. I've brought up my discomfort about everything, including how close they are to my best friend, and she said there's nothing I can do and I'll lose 100% of the time, which kinda pissed me off because if he saw a future with me at all, then shouldn't he want to fight for us, and make me feel comfortable in the relationship? Update. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you to everyone. I texted him Thursday sometime after I made the post that I wanted to come pick up the things I have at his place Friday after work. All he replied with was, sure. Last night after work I went to his place, and when I got there I texted him that I was in the parking lot and told him to bring my stuff down. I really didn't want to deal with Faith, like at all. He eventually came downstairs with a box of my stuff. I went there with every intention on just getting my things and walking away, not saying anything, but I don't know. It was like word vomit. I couldn't stop myself, and I asked him how long they've been sleeping together. He kinda laughed and said it really doesn't matter now, does it? And I said it kinda does if he's been sleeping with both of us at the same time. He said the night I stormed out of his place when he was sick was the first time they slept together since we've been together. I didn't ask if they've slept together before me. I feel like the way he worded his answer confirmed they have a history of hooking up, but maybe I'm reading into it. The last thing I said to him was that he needs to figure his crap out because no woman is going to play second to her forever. I got in my car and left without letting him respond or looking for a reaction. It didn't feel great to know that he cheated on me, even though I kinda expected it, to be honest. I think I'm somewhere between anger and indifference right now. I've deleted and blocked both of them on literally everything. I just want to move on from all this. I know some of you are gonna say it's a lesson to be learned, but all I learned from this is to make sure the next guy has no intimate history with any female friends before it becomes a relationship, because screw that. I'm divorcing my husband after he gave me the ultimatum, open marriage or nothing. I chose nothing. My husband, 28 male, and I, 29 female, have been together for 9 years, married for 7. We got a not-so-classic shotgun wedding to give ourselves better chances of receiving custody of his half-sister, 10 female, when their mom suddenly passed away. Despite only being 20 and 21 years old, we did receive full legal custody over her absent father. This information isn't super relevant to the current situation, but it really sets the tone of our relationship with the sacrifices we made together, and the things we each had to give up personally to raise this beautiful little girl. We don't have any children together, but his sister is now 17 and moved in with an older, more financially privileged aunt last year. Over the past year of this newfound alone time, I feel like we have flourished each personally and as a couple. We never fight, arguments are rare, and we are pretty good at coming to understandings and apologizing when necessary. Basically, I feel we had a pretty healthy relationship. We each do little things for each other. I receive flowers no less than 10 times a year. We go on little vacations together and are generally really good. I guess a bit of the spark was sputtering out for a while, but I feel like that's normal for a relationship as long as ours. Fast forward to this past October. My husband seems like he has been depressed, which is normal for this time of year because of the timing of losing both his mom and dad in different years around the same time. The holidays are tough for him, so I get it and try to be there for him. He had previously planned to unalive himself because of family issues before we met, so I take his mental health very seriously. He sits me down to have a serious conversation and starts it by saying he wants to open up our relationship. I felt my heart drop to my stomach but stayed silent and let him talk. He doesn't go into why, just jumps right into rules and explains how he wants me to find someone first before he starts looking for someone himself. When I asked him why, he couldn't explain it and fumbled his words. I asked him if he already had someone in mind for himself, and of course he denies it. I couldn't help it. I definitely blew up. I was totally blindsided by this proposal. I slept on the couch after my outburst, and he didn't even try to come after me to explain anything, which kind of made me feel worse. I had never felt so unwanted in my life than in that moment. I have never given the impression that I was the kind of girl to be open to that kind of relationship. I will never judge anyone for wanting to live that kind of life, but it's just not for me. He went to work the next day, but I had the day off and really thought about my situation. After crying for hours, I came to the realization that this was the end for our marriage. Even suggesting an open marriage was a deal breaker for me, I realized. While he was still at work, I moved all his stuff out of our bedroom into his sister's old room, technically a spare room now. He comes home from work, ready to talk it out. After talking through more of why he wants this, I've come to realize several things. 1. He is way more wild than he lets on, and is disappointed with our bedroom life. He knows I'm not on the same level and doesn't want to push me past my boundaries to try things he knows I won't like. When I ask how he knows I won't like to try these new things, he explains they are an escalation of things he already knows I'm not down for but won't go into specifics. He also is unhappy with how infrequently we make love but has never really put in the effort to change anything regarding it. Just complained over and over and expected me to just be ready to do the deed any minute of the day. 2. He feels we have nothing in common now that his sister is gone. For context, he is more of the outdoorsy type, whereas I like to stay inside and read or play video games. I do venture out once in a while to do things he likes together and do genuinely enjoy them myself when I go, like kayaking and skiing. I do understand that it isn't as often as he would like though. 3. Because we got married so young, there are a lot of things neither of us really got to experience or try, mostly intimately. He is mourning the loss of his young 20s and never getting to sleep around and explore his fantasies. 4. Part of the rules he explained was that we wouldn't technically be sleeping around with whoever we wanted. He called it an open marriage but described it more as polyamory, where we would each have a boyfriend or girlfriend of our own that we went on dates and did things together. Someone we were each allowed to love and be with intimately. An emotional connection was pivotal for him, which broke my heart to pieces. During our talk, I told him I would never be able to look at him the same. I would never be enough for him, and he was basically trying to get a pass for guilt-free cheating in my eyes. I told him it sounded like he wanted to be with someone else without ever leaving the comfort of his marriage. Knowing he could date around and not worrying if those relationships would fail because he could just come home to me. He tried denying these things, saying he wanted to explore himself intimately but didn't want to lose me in the process. He tried getting me to agree to marriage counseling to talk about the open marriage concept. I told him just proposing an open marriage was grounds for divorce for me, and I wasn't willing to go to a counselor for them to gang up on me to try to bully me into trying it. I know in reality that never would have happened, but emotions were high in the moment. Because I told him I could never see him the same and how badly this crushed any self-confidence I may have had, he doubled down. He said if we go back into a relationship and pretend this never happened, then he would end up cheating on me. For him, it was open marriage or nothing. I chose nothing. Divorce papers were filed exactly 1 week later. He was very hurt, angry, that I could jump right to divorce and kick him out of our bedroom so fast. But I refused to be a second choice or have to fight for his attention. I can't believe he is okay with the idea of another person being inside of me. He is willing to just give me up to explore his options? I can't believe I wasted so much of my time with him. Helping him heal his family and raise his sister, I feel completely used. Did I overreact? Should I have waited longer before filing for divorce? Should I have just gone to marriage counseling, or was my gut instinct correct about the marriage being over? I still love and care about him, but my brain is screaming to be logical. We still live together while we are trying to figure out how to split everything, but now he is being super toxic and petty, saying hurtful things and then begging for personal details about my life. I need to get out of this house. How do I cope with these complicated feelings? Update 2 months later. Hello, all. I wanted to say thank you all for the support. As for the update, where do I even start? It has been over the required 90 days since initially filing for divorce before it can be deemed official. I'm going to the courthouse tomorrow to file the remaining paperwork. We had an easy, uncontested divorce. We agreed on how to split things with pretty much everything, and he didn't even give me a hard time about taking our 2 cats that are quite attached to me. He was always the spare human. I bought a small home for myself and said 2 cats and moved a few days ago. I won't lie, this whole process was very tough for me emotionally. It was especially hard considering he was constantly hot and then cold. He would jump from name calling and trying to control who came over to our house to finding reasons to call me on the phone all day and joking around with me like nothing was wrong. I feel like I have emotional whiplash from the last 3 months of living with him while looking for a new place to live. At one point, he came home to see me eating a meal I just cooked during a break from packing. It was pretty disorganized, but I was in the middle of doing multiple things at the same time. He saw the mess and started yelling at me for it and throwing my things around the kitchen. Another day, he texted me asking me why I wasn't interested in where he had been spending his days off and later sheepishly asking if he would drop the open marriage demand. Would I ever consider trying again? Of course, I told him we were way past that, considering the multiple times he promised he would cheat on me if we didn't open the marriage. Also, I did get STD tested and came back clean as a whistle. I don't think he was already cheating. But he is damned embarrassed about this whole thing. He wants me to tell people he cheated on me when they ask why we are getting divorced instead of telling the truth of the matter. I'm still not sure what the correct course of action is for that. He was made aware in advance that after I moved and the divorce was finalized, I would be going no contact. I did all the legwork to make this happen, including getting all divorce paperwork and 2023 taxes filed, separating all bills and bank accounts, hiding the address to my new home, blocked him on all social media, and I will even be changing my phone number once everything is finalized. He feels that me going no contact is vindictive. No matter what he has said and done to hurt me, I still have a lot of love for this man. He doesn't deserve it, I know. But that is exactly why I need to go no contact. It's for my own peace and to maintain some semblance of self-respect. I can't tell him that because I don't want to give him, or myself to be honest, any false hope that we could work things out. I have no plans to be with anyone else in the near or distant future. I just want to work on building my confidence and get in a healthier mindset. I haven't gotten to counseling yet like many have suggested. I was in survival mode for the last 3 months so I could get out of that hellish situation. Now that I'm in my new house and getting unpacked, I'm sure I will be able to relax enough to start feeling better soon. And if I don't, I have every intention of seeking professional help. I have a huge support network between friends and family. Our shared friends were all on my side as well. Not that there is a true right or wrong in a situation like this, but one of his best friends telling him this was the biggest mistake of his life was incredibly validating. The only thing I regret from my relationship with him is staying as long as I did despite all the red flags I ignored throughout the years. I went into detail on some of them in the comments of the original post. All I know is that I'm feeling a mix of relief and grief. I just need some time to allow myself to heal. Out of our many conversations, he told me that 99% of open marriages fail because they were open for failing marriages, and that since we had a great relationship, we would have been fine. I tried explaining to him that I learned, from some of you guys, that what he suggested was not an open marriage, but it was parallel to polyamory and it was the most difficult form of polyamory to achieve. He didn't care and was only focused on convincing me to work it out with him. For me, there is nothing to work out. He wants to be with someone else and to fall in love again. So I am giving him the freedom to do that but gracefully stepping back. As many have said, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. There isn't much more to say on the matter. I said I was leaving, and I did it. Here's to hoping 2024 is my year.